I live in a trashy apartment. I haven't had a steady job since I moved out, and life sucks so far. I'm continuing to look for a job though. It's almost Christmas time, and I'm definitely looking for one to open up. I eventually came across tryouts for Santa Claus at the mall that I live fairly close to. I figured I would give that a shot since I'm pretty chubby and I could pull off a really good Santa voice. I was quite satisfied when they gave me the job. Sure, I'd have to put up with a bunch of whiny and pushy kids all afternoon, but it actually pays really well. On my first day, I sat there for about 2 hours, making a bunch of false promises to a bunch of kids, wanting stuff like toys, pets, iPads, etc. When this very sullen-looking 8-year-old kid sits on my lap. In my jolliest Santa voice, I asked, "What would you like for Christmas, son?" He replied in the most pitiful manner, "I want my parents back." I figured he just got lost in the mall. That happens to kids all the time. "Well, maybe you can wait here until they come get you," I said, still maintaining my Santa voice. "They're not at the mall," he answered. "I woke up this morning and they were gone, but then I heard you were here, and I was wondering if you would bring them home for me." "Say, what's your name, little one?" I asked. "Charlie," he replied. I didn't know what to do with this poor child. I mean, I'm no detective. So I lied to him and said, "Will do, son." I didn't feel good about it, but I could barely handle the responsibility of a child. I didn't even like kids. I went home after my shift to have a cheap microwave dinner on a dirty old plate and watch some TV on my old rabbit ears television. The food tasted like paste and the apartment was cold. I hated this hellhole to the very core, but it's all I had. I couldn't help but still feel pity for poor little Charlie. After a while of watching TV, I started watching this news report that made me feel uncomfortable. A married couple died in a car crash not too far from the mall. They had fallen off a bridge and drowned in the lake below. The reporter said that they had a son who was thankfully not in the car with them, but he was now missing. He was last seen by his parents, who tucked him into bed the night before. Then they showed his picture. I dropped my dinner plate and froze. It was Charlie. It was the boy who asked me to reunite him with his parents. I broke down then and there, knowing both that I promised this kid that his parents would return to him Christmas Day, and now they never will. I had trouble sleeping for days after that. My guilt haunted me as I continued to deliver children's wishes at the mall. I was secretly waiting to see if Charlie would come back, and then I could tell the authorities that he's been found. But I didn't see him throughout my shift. Then finally, Christmas Eve had arrived. I had just returned from a Christmas dinner with my family, and I went to bed after an hour of watching crappy TV. I continued to feel agonizing guilt over that Charlie kid. Then I thought to myself, I probably won't even see him again anyways, right? The thought only made me feel slightly better. I managed to drift off to sleep at last, when, an hour later, I heard a child's voice. I turned around quickly to face the doorway when I saw Charlie. He was just standing there with a smile on his face. Not an evil one, though. Just happy. He spoke to me after a full minute of silence. "Thank you, Santa. Thank you for finding my parents." My mouth dropped open in horror as two dark figures suddenly appeared behind him, slowly fading in from nothing. The figures came into view as the horribly mangled bodies of the married couple, their faces bloodied and their limbs bent out of proportion. I watched in absolute shock as the boy looked behind to them, smiled, took their hands, and walked away happily with them.